Great evening, everybody. This is part one of a series that I'm starting. It's called C.A.R.E Talks. C.A.R.E is an acronym for Concerned American Real Earth Talks. And today, what I'm focusing on is some dreams through the Bible, the first chapter, the first and second chapter of Genesis, and how, if we take a deeper dive into it and we get a biblical understanding of creation, then we can deeper understand what's going on Earth. Because my argument is heliocentric solar system, Big Bang Theory, being lost and separated, floating in space. None of that ever existed in the Bible. And then when people try to say that it says that the earth is round, no, it doesn't say round. It never does say round. It says the circumference of the earth. It says the circle of the earth. And it actually says that God sits on the throne of the circumference, and the circumference is where the dome meets where Antarctica is. So, like, I'm going to read here in a minute, but if you think of a basin, so for instance, let's say this is, well, obviously it wouldn't be higher than Antarctica, but because Antarctica is the highest land in America, in our Earth. So let's just say this is what Earth looks like, alright? It's inside, and then there's water here, and then this is the highest wall. Every pond needs a container. Every body of water needs a container, because if not, it will spill. Okay, I want to illustrate that. Men knew they didn't come from monkeys back then. No, you think is there one mention of Moses talking about evolution in the Bible? No. Is there one mention of measuring stars with light years? Ever? Has that ever been mentioned in the Bible? No. Okay? So, forgive me, but this is my C.A.R.E talk. This is Concerned Americans, Concerned Americans Real Earth talk. Alright? I'm using my E100 Military Edition with Lectio Divina Holy Bible. This is the New American Bible Revised Edition. I'm Catholic. It's a Catholic Bible, and it has what Lectio Divina means. I don't know what Protestants call it, but it means divine word. And whatever's in blue is what they say is God is speaking, or in the New Testament, whatever's in blue is what Jesus was speaking. Well, in the Old Testament, because we have it in the Old Testament too, it's what God was speaking. So I'm going to read how God created the earth, and then I'm going to read Jacob's dream, Jacob's ladder dream, and Joseph's two dreams of the wheat sheaves bowing down and the sun, moon, and stars bowing down. Those two dreams. So we're going to start. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. I'm very grateful for this day. I have plenty to be grateful for. I appreciate all you've done in my life. Please send the Holy Spirit so I can read, understand, and be able to interpret your word. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Alright, so the creation of the world. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. The story of creation. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was without form or shape, with darkness over the abyss, and a mighty wind sweeping over the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good. God then separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. Evening came, and the morning followed, the first day. Then God said, "Let there be a dome in the middle of the waters to separate one body of water from the other." God made the dome, and separated the water from the water below from the... Oh, excuse me. God made the dome, and it separated the water below the dome from the water above the dome. And so it happened. God called the dome sky. Evening came, and the morning followed. This was the second day. Excuse me. Then God said, let the water under the sky be gathered into a single basin, and so that the dry land may appear. And so it happened. The water under the sky was gathered into its basin, and the dry land appeared. God called the dry land earth, and the basin of water he called sea. God saw that it was good. Then God said, let the earth bring forth vegetation, every kind of plant that bears seed, every kind of fruit tree on the earth that bears fruit with its seed in it. And so it happened. The earth brought forth vegetation, every kind of plant that bears seed, and every kind of fruit that bears fruit with its seed in it. God saw that it was good. Evening came and the morning followed. That was the third day. So then God said, let there be light in the dome of the sky to separate the day from the night. Let them mark the seasons, the days, and the years, and serve as lights in the dome of the sky to illuminate the earth. And so it happens. God made the two lights, the two great lights, the greater one to govern the day, and the lesser one to govern the night and the stars. God set them in the dome of the sky to illuminate the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. God saw that it was good. Evening came and the morning followed. That was the fourth day. Then God said, let the waters teem, Teem, let the water teem with an abundance of living creatures. And on the earth let the birds fly beneath the dome of the sky. God created the great sea monsters of all kinds of crawling living creatures, which the water teems, and all kinds of winged birds. God saw that it was good, and God blessed them, saying, be fertile, multiply, and fill the water of the seas, and let the birds multiply on the earth. Evening came and the morning followed. That was the fifth day. Then God said, let the earth bring forth every kind of living creature, tame animals, crawling, and every kind of animals. So it happened. The fifth day. Not that was the fifth day. The fifth day. Then God, the fifth day. So the first day, second day, third day. Then God said, let the earth bring forth every kind of living creature, tame animals, crawling things, and every kind of animal, kind of wild animal. And so it happened. God made every kind of wild animal, every kind of tame animal, and every kind of thing that crawls on the ground. God saw that it was good. Then God said, let us make human beings in our image, after our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, the tame animals, and the wild animals, and all the creatures that crawl on the earth. God created mankind in his image. In the image of God, and created them. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them, and God said to them, be fertile and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, all the living things that crawl on the earth. God also said, see, I give you every seed-bearing plant on all the earth, and every tree that has seed-bearing fruit on it to be yours for food. And to all the wild animals, all the birds of the air, and all the creatures that crawl on the earth, I give all the green plants for food. And so it happened. God looked at everything he made and found it very good. Evening came and the morning followed. Excuse me, yeah, those were the sixth, that was the sixth day, so I was saying it correctly. Alright. And chapter 2, thus the heavens and the earth and all their array were completed. On the seventh day God completed the work he had been doing. He rested on the seventh day, and from all the work he had undertaken. God blessed the seventh day, and he made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work he had done in his creation. And then it goes on into the story of the nations, the Garden of Eden, all that. So I'm going to just focus on a couple things real quick. Then God said, let there be a dome in the middle of the waters to separate one body of water from the other. So this is God speaking the firmament into existence. He said, let there be a dome in the middle of the waters to separate one body of water from the other. God made the dome, and it separated the waters below the dome from the waters above the dome. And so it happened. God called the dome sky. Evening came and morning followed. Okay? He separated in the first day, he said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good. Then he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. Evening came, and the morning followed. That was the first day. So obviously there was light somewhere else. And that's why I think the outer lands, like if you look at right here, we live inside here. That's South America, that's America, Africa, and Asia, and Europe, and all that. And then the outer lands, I'm sure there was more land. And when the builder races were building our world, this is what I believe, you know what I mean? This is just a little disclaimer. I do dream interpretation, I do with Dream Life Decoded and the SIS, but I'm not saying that what I'm saying you have to believe, okay? I do dream interpretation, and what I've seen with my own eyes and what I know, I no longer believe in basically anything. I believe in God, miracles, my immune system, my mother and my father. I believe in things like this, but everything else, I would say that to believe in it is, I believe in the Bible, obviously, but to believe in something without actually knowing and verifying it is a disservice to yourself. And what do they say? Believing is the lazy man's knowing, something like that. I don't know. But anyway, so let there be light. There was light. So obviously there was light. So maybe, who knows the timing of all of this? And you know what I mean? It was just in 7 days. So who knows what happened before these 7 days, because it just says there was light and there wasn't, and God separated us. So maybe there, in the heavenly realms, God already had everything figured out that we don't know about, that these agencies and these cartoon companies are lying to you and making you believe in. So here we go. That was the first day. The second day, let there be a dome in the middle of the waters to separate one body of water from the other. God made the dome. It separated the water below the dome from the waters above the dome. And so it happened. God called the dome sky. Evening came and the morning followed. That was the second day. So he separated the waters above from the waters below. He put a firmament down. And what I'm seeing, because when you look at it in the Hebrew text, I have a friend, I think his name's actually Joseph too. I think so. He's from Israel, but he does biblical cosmology with Israel, with translating it through Hebrew. But the way the circle of the earth is actually describing the circumference of the earth, where God's throne sits, where the firmament, the dome, sits on the earth, on the circle of the earth, and God sits above the firmament, and that's his throne. So, talking about the firmament. Firmament's established. Then God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered into a single basin, so that the dry land may appear." And so it happened, and the water under the sky was gathered into its basin, and the dry land appeared. Okay, so here's your land inside your basin, and then this is Antarctica. So these are all your mountains and valleys, and there's tunnels in there, and look, secret entrances and all kinds of things. But guess what? It's all below Antarctica. Father, forgive me. Then God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered into a single basin, so the dry land may appear." And so it happened. The water under the sky was gathered into a basin. All bodies of water need a container, because if not, it would flow out, right? So God lifted the walls, the ice, whatever. I'm sure in the beginning it was different, because if you look at the maps, there was four bodies of land close to the North Pole, because there is a North Pole. There's no such thing as the South Pole. There's Antarctica and the North Pole. Everything away from north is actually south. So we're going to talk about that in Jacob's dream when they say north, south, east, and west. Looking on a square map on a piece of paper that's not depicting, I don't know, what I believe our earth is actually Even if you look at NATO's map, or you look at Richard Byrd, you look at navigation maps, sea maps, you look at ancient maps, you look at you know what I mean? Every map shows originally what the world was. And I think long time ago, maybe the sun didn't have to travel as far to complete one day, and maybe slowly it started traveling out, and God had a plan. All right, I'm going to slowly start exposing these parts of the land, and I'm going to dry out these parts of the lands, like where you can see how Africa and that whole part where the sun travels, maybe the sun was stuck there for a long time and it dried it out, and eventually it started getting wider and wider. So I don't know, that's my theory on that, but here we go. We're talking about Antarctica, or we're talking about the Bible and how creation is made, but what I'm telling you is that Antarctica is not an island, an imaginary island on a cartoon globe, all right? Trying to give you perspective through the Bible, how this earth was created, and then I'm going to give you um, two references to dreams, how dreams through the Bible also prove that our Father's creation and a level stationary plane, okay? But those are also God's promises being fulfilled through the covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and then the promises being fulfilled through Jacob in his dream, and then later on Jacob's son also receiving more dreams, because Jacob's dad, grandfather, great grandfather, all dreamers. Okay, so let me finish this part up real quick. Here we go. Called the dry land earth, and the basin he called the sea. God saw that it was good. Then God said, let the earth bring forth vegetation. That all happens. So what I'm seeing is God lifted the mountains. He made, however he did it. God is God. He doesn't have to explain what he does. So the firmament's sitting on Antarctica there in my mind, and that's what I'm visualizing, and I believe it, all right? Because I haven't been to Antarctica, so I can't tell you it's true. That's what I believe, because I've flown. I've been on I don't know how many airplanes I've been on. More than 50. And every time I look down, the earth is flat. So, or level. It's not flat because there's obviously mountains and buildings and valleys and all that stuff. So, but it's definitely a level stationary plane. So here we go. Then God said the following day, then God said, let there be lights in the dome of the sky to separate day from the night. Let them mark the seasons, the days, and the years, and serve as lights in the dome of the sky to illuminate the earth. So, to separate day from the night, and then let them mark the seasons, the days, and the years. So, you can see by each rotation of the sun, that's one day. You can see by a new moon and full moon phase where it's at underneath the stars, what part of the year it is. So biblical cosmology, the sun, the moon, and the stars, the way our earth works, they call it the sky clock. That's what God was putting in the firmament, the sky clock. That was on day 4. You know what I mean? So if you don't know where you're from and how this world works, how are you going to try to interpret God's word with heliocentric ideology? Heliocentric sorcery. That's what it is. It's a soul lure system, getting you to believe that you are trillions of miles separated from God. They said that the closest star is 4 trillion or 4 light years away. 1 light year is 4 light years is 25 trillion miles, something like that. And then if you count to 1 trillion, if you use a clock, 1, 2, we'll be here for almost 32,000 years, and that's 1 trillion. So you got to do that 24 more times. And then that's how close the closest star is. I don't believe that at all. There's no need to believe that. You can prove it. The inverse law of squares, every time you double the distance, you get a quarter of the light. Right? So here we go. God set them in the dome of the sky to illuminate the earth, to govern the day and the night, to separate the light from the darkness. God saw that it was good. Evening came, and the morning followed. Okay, that was on the fourth day. Then let the team with the then talking about the land and the creatures of the air, the land and the sea, and that's land, air, and water, or sea. That's where law comes from. LAW, the land, air, and water. Those are three different jurisdictions God's given you right here in the first chapter. The three different jurisdictions. That's why America is run on maritime admiralty law, where they have ship and certificates and all these different special legalese languages to get you to give away your identity, and so they can take out a bond on your name and make money off of you and all that. So I'm putting all this together. If you don't like it, I don't care. It doesn't matter. You don't have to agree with me, but I have all this different information in my head, and then a lot of it is based off of what people have been lied about. So I'm trying to filter it all out by just speaking what I believe and what is true, and and the the correlation and the connections that I see in my mind. So, and what God has given me. So if you don't believe, that's fine. And I'm not saying that Dream Life Decoded believes in any of this. I'm just saying that this is what I've learned, and I do give thanks to Dream Life Decoded and the SIS for teaching me dream interpretation. But I think there's a lot of things that are missed out, and especially with limited information and knowledge, or wisdom. I would call it wisdom, based on the limited knowledge that you have and lack of wisdom that you deserve. So here we go. One thing, what I was gonna say, he said the monsters, he created the great sea monsters, and he said also the living. Then God said, "Let the waters teem with abundance of living creatures on the earth. Let birds fly beneath the dome of the sky." God created great sea monsters of all kinds of and crawling creatures, which the waters would teem up, and all kinds of winged birds. So dinosaurs aren't real. When he says all kinds of winged birds, he was talking about dragons and all, whatever they were. The dragons, I believe there was dragons and other kind of flying creatures. Dinosaurs are fake. Dinosaur is a made up word by some British scholar. He wrote a theoretical paper on it when he was in college, and then he got accredited for discovering the first dinosaur, and that's all controlled by Smithsonian, and those Smithsonian, are the ones who have deleted our real history. So learn the truth. All right, that's enough for just the creation story. All right, I don't want to get too, you can call me radical for my beliefs, because I know the truth, and you guys are still brainwashed and hypnotized by heliocentric sorcery. It's not my fault. I'm going to explain to you what's really going on. This is my CARE talk, Concerned Americans, Real Earth Talks. Alright? If you don't like it, goodbye. Going to talk about Jacob's dream. Jacob at Bethel, a dream of promise and blessings. Genesis 28, 10 through 22. Alright. Jacob departed from Beersheba and proceeded toward Haran. When he came upon a certain place, he stopped there for the night. Since the sun had already set, taking one of the stones at the place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place. Then he had a dream. A stairway rested on the ground with its top reaching to the heavens, and God's angels were going up and down on it. And there was the Lord standing beside him and saying, "I am the Lord, the God of Abraham, your father, the God of Isaac, and the land of which you are lying I will give to you and your descendants. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and through them you will spread to the west and east, to the north and to the south. And you and your descendants, all the families of of the earth will find blessings. I am with you and will protect you wherever you go, and bring you back to this land. I will never leave you until I have done what I promised you." When Jacob awoke from his sleep, he said, "Truly the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." He was afraid and said, "How awesome this place is! This is nothing else but the house of God. This gateway to heaven. This is the gateway to heaven." Early the next morning, Jacob took the stone and that he had put under his head. He set it up as a sacred pillar and poured oil on top of it. He named that place Bethel, whereas the former name of the town had been Luz. Jacob made this vow: "If God will be with me and protect me on this journey I am making, and give me food to eat and clothes to wear, and I come back safely to my father's house, the Lord will be my God. This stone that I have set up as a sacred pillar will be the house of God. Of everything you give me, I will return a tenth part to you without fail." So this dream, he sees the ladder on the earth. It's the top reaching to the heaven. Angels ascending and descending. Then the Lord is next to him, and he says, "I am the Lord, the God of Abraham your father, and the God of Isaac. The land of which you are lying on I will give to you and your descendants. Your descendants will be like dust of the earth, and through them you will spread to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. And you and your descendants and all your families of the earth will find blessings." So notice how they call it the earth, of earth, and he says God is telling him, because he made the covenant with his father, Jacob's father, Isaac, or Abraham, right? Jacob departed. What was it? Abraham, Jacob, Isaac, Jacob. So the God of Abraham, Isaac. Basically, this is God's promise being fulfilled to Jacob. His father, his grandfather, they're all dreamers. They've all been receiving dreams and direction from God their whole life. This is another example of it. This is probably one of the, I don't know how they explain what his fathers were doing, but I'm sure. Oh yeah, Abraham, his father, he got the dream from what's it called, with Abimelech. And that's another thing. Abimelech, it was Amalek, Abimelech, Anunnaki. Those are all the same bloodlines, and that's why they're saying that we are in a holy war. I don't know if it's just because of that, but those people, they were, what was he, a trafficking king? He was taking people's wives. Like, he was not a good man, and God sent him a dream telling him that he was as good as dead if he didn't restore Abraham's wife. So that's the power of the dreams, you know. So later, Jacob is getting his dream. He's seeing the ladder set on the ground, reaching to the heavens of the earth. That, to me, like, if you set up any other ladder, it's on a ground and it's reaching. So there's the ground plane and the heaven plane. He receives his he makes his covenant with God again. Jacob does, and then, because he falls back asleep, then the next morning he puts the stone and he anoints the stone. Then his son Joseph starts having dreams, and Joseph's son, this is the one I wanted to focus on more. There's some more decoding I need to do in Jacob's dream. There's something I'm missing or something I'm forgetting right now. But anyway, we'll go to Joseph's first dream, Genesis 37. Sorry, this is not a very good quality video, but I'm doing it just to do it so I can see it, and I'll learn how to do it better. Gotta practice. Practice makes perfect, right? So chapter 37. So here we go. He said to them, "Listen, I had a dream. This is chapter 37, verse 6. He said to them, listen to this dream I had. There we were binding sheaves in the field, when suddenly my sheaf rose to an upright position, and your sheaves formed a ring around my sheaf and bowed down to it. His brothers said to him, are you really going to make yourself king over us? Will you rule over us? So they hated him all the more because of his dreams and his reports. Then he had another dream, and he told it to his brothers. Look, I had another dream. He said, this time the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. When he told it to his father and his brothers, his father reproved him and asked, what is the meaning of this dream of yours? Can it be that I and your mother and your brothers are to come and bow to the ground before you? So his brothers were furious at him, and his fathers kept this matter in mind. So later they go on here. I'll go down. It says so. So alright. So they plotted to kill him. They said to one another, here comes that dreamer. Come on, let us kill him and throw him into one of our cisterns here. We could say that a wild beast devoured him. We will see then what comes of his dreams. But when Reuben heard of this, he tried to save him from their hands, saying, we must not take his life. Then Reuben said, do not shed blood. Throw him into this cistern in the wilderness, but do not lay a hand on him. His purpose was to save him from their hands and restore him to his father. So when Joseph came up to his brothers, they stripped him of his tunic, and basically they threw him down there. And I don't know, I've heard so many different versions, and I forgot the version that is really true. So we'll just leave it at that. I'll finish the rest. We'll read that whole chapter later. But basically, in those two dreams, the first one, he says, we were there binding sheaves in the field, when suddenly my sheaf rose to an upright position, and your sheaves formed a ring around my sheaves and bowed to it. So that's showing his authority and them bowing down to him. And also, in my mind, I'm seeing an illustration of an actual ring, and they're bowing down. So that's showing that there's something at the center that is being bowed down to. Then the second dream, he says, the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars were bowing down to me. When he told it to his father and brother, his father reproved him and asked, what is the meaning of this dream of yours? Can it be that I and your mother and your brothers are to come and bow to the ground before you? So he already knows that they're at the center of creation. Why would the sun, the moon, and the stars bow to a focal center point? And then what this caused is he was supposed to get killed. His brother, his oldest brother Reuben, saved his life. He gets put into slavery, working for Pharaoh's general Potiphar. He was like the general of Pharaoh's army. They called him Potiphar. He's working for him. Potiphar's wife keeps hitting on him. Many times she keeps hitting on him. And then one day he explains to her, he's like, listen, your husband has given me everything. He's blessed me with everything in the whole land of Egypt. And the only thing he's restricted from me is his wife. And he's like, and you expect me to disobey my master? So she gets offended, accuses him of having sex with her or whatever. Maybe, I don't know. Accuses him of doing something wrong. And long story short, he goes to prison. He interprets two dreams. Two guys that work for Pharaoh. One is his cupbearer, one is his bread baker. The cupbearer's dream. I dream I have 3 grapevines and a cup of wine, and it's full, taking it to Pharaoh. Joseph says, your dream, in 3 days' time, you're going to be restored, and you're going to be bringing wine to the Pharaoh. You're going to be back with Pharaoh. All good. 3 days later, this man, that happens. He gets his jobs restored. But the same night, the bread baker, he explains his dream. He says, I'm sitting there, and I have 3 bread baskets on top of my head, and there's crows attacking the bread baskets. He's like, oh, well, in 3 days' time, you're going to be dead, and you're going to be impaled at the stake. And that's what happened. In 3 days' time, he died. His job was not restored. 2 years go by. Uh, the cupbearer, he remembers because that's when Pharaoh had his two dreams. It was seven fat, plump, healthy cows standing there next to the river, and then fat or seven gaunt, like sickly cows come out of the Nile and they devour the fat cows. He wakes up, goes back to sleep. He sees the seven sheaves of wheat, nice and plump, ready for harvest, and then uh, seven burnt sheaves of wheat devour those. Two dreams in a row. He's so disturbed. He demands to find a dream interpreter. So the cupbearer, he remembers, he's like, listen, Pharaoh, I was in prison with this dude. He interprets dreams. He's like, all right, bring him to me. Pharaoh gets him out of jail. He has to shave, change his clothes, da da da. Pharaoh talks to him. He's like, you gonna be able to interpret my dream? He's like, I don't interpret. I don't have the interpretation for your dream. It's God who has the interpretation for your dream. He tells him his dream. He identifies the key symbols. He goes through his analysis and then the actionable intelligence. So he reads the dream. He sees seven fat cows, seven sick cows devouring them, seven healthy grain, seven burnt grain devouring it. So he's like, all right. He says Pharaoh would have to appoint a wise man that could appoint leaders within his army to basically prepare, because within there's going to be 7 years of plenty, and then after 7 years you're going to have 7 years of drought. And he's like, you need to save 1/5 of all your grain during the 7 years of plenty. Store it in these walls, within the walls in the cities of Egypt, so that way you're prepared for it. You know what I mean? And he's like, and then he tells Pharaoh, he's like, and Pharaoh would have to appoint a man who is wise enough and with discernment to be able to basically save Egypt. And then Pharaoh goes, well, there is no other man that is as wise as you. This man shall be you. Basically, makes him the viceroy of Egypt, in charge of Egypt. So Joseph, he went from being ridiculed for dreaming, almost killed, thrown away, thrown in a well, however the story goes, ends up now and he tells he said basically you are in charge of Egypt. There's no one in second to command to you besides me. So he's in charge of Egypt. His brothers come later. They need grain because there's a drought. He tells them he talks to him, he recognizes him, he accuses him of being a spy. He tells them that they have to bring his little brother because something like he could, because long story short, he wanted to see his dad. So he brings the little brother. They go back, or no, he sends them back with grain and stuff, but he puts their money back in their pocket and he says, you got to bring the your little brother. And then when the little brother comes, then the oldest brother, Reuben, again, he doesn't want to sacrifice his little brother. He's like, because basically, long story short, he has dinner with them, and then when they leave, he puts a gold cup in their, in the bag, and he says that they were accused of stealing from him. So you need to leave your brother here, blah blah blah. But throughout the both experiences, because when they went back the first time to get the little brother, um, when the dad seen the money in the bag, when that they sent money to buy the grain, it freaked the dad out. He was like, oh no, this ain't good. We gotta take that money back and make right with this man, because he's, he could destroy our whole land. So long story short, the cup gets found there, and then but he breaks down. He starts crying because he's realizing that his brother actually did change, because he didn't want us. He was like about to say like, well, just sacrifice your younger brother again, and then you can return, and you got to bring your dad. Da da da. Long story short, he doesn't have to do all that. It was just a test, and then he sets up a chariot with a bunch of food and journey along the way with escorts and protection, escorted protection to retrieve his father and bring him back. He brings them all back, and then his whole family basically helps him run Egypt. So this is my interpretation of it. This is what I believe. But I also believe that if we have any form of delusion, like if you're adding any amount of delusion to the water, then it's not pure. You know what I mean? So I think we need to learn the real biblical cosmology, denounce heliocentric sorcery, and then learn the true definition. And if when you learn God's creation the way God intended it to be ran, then you can understand His word more properly. Because the dream interpretation I'm doing, I learned so much, but then I hear a certain, just like on just I don't know, just different people's belief systems and then the way that they believe in things. And I listen to live dream interpretation people still with global ideas and heliocentric ideas in their mind. And it's like, no, God's actually trying to bring you to biblical cosmology and the book and the story of creation, the truth of our realm. That's what I believe. So, like I said, sacred guardians lead the way right here. Boom. We are at the center of creation right here. We're in America, so we're like that little tiny place right there. But yeah, this is the outer lands beyond our ice wall. And supposedly there's several ice walls, and there isn't just one. That's why God separated us, and I believe that. So there we go again. So basically, have a blessed day. Thank you, Father, for allowing me to speak. I know I spoke. Yeah, I don't know if I offended anyone. Forgive me, but I don't think I did anything wrong. I didn't add anything to the word. I'm giving you my opinion of the word because I listen to other people try to interpret the word and they straight lie out of their mouth and they act like they know what they're talking about. I'm telling you, this is what I believe is going on. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm hearing. So, God be with you. Um, write down your dreams. Try to remember your dreams. Learn biblical cosmology. And like I said, my belief system does not represent anything within the SIS and Dream Life Decoded. I'm sure there are many who have figured out the truth by now, but this is two separate things. I'm just using a few of my skills, putting them all together. If you want to learn more about if you want to know more about Dream Life Decoded, the Joseph method of dream interpretation, you can go do that at dreamlifedecoded.com. And you can, right now there's all kinds of sales going on for Black Friday, so you can get a bunch of stuff. And then just if you want to just do it for free and learn slowly, go to Dream Life Decoded. There's all kinds of sources on there. In the Facebook group, there's like the Dream Lab, and then you also have live dream interpretation every Tuesday at Dream Life Decoded. Dream Life Decoded on YouTube at Dream Life Decoded. So, like I said, I'm just one concerned American. This is my concerned American real Earth talk. Alright? So, this is part of my series, C.A.R.E Talks. Concerned American signing out. Have a blessed weekend.